Hey guys, Coach Chris here, back with another video. Really excited to show you this one. Before we get into the game, I want to show you that over the last year or so, I've been in a bit of a plateau. Pretty inconsistent results, and over the last year, I haven't hit 2050. My all-time high is 2106. Been bouncing around between 1950 or so and 2050, so been in a bit of plateau, and in April I went back down to 1945. But over the last 3 months I've really tried to be more intentional, more focused, more disciplined, and seeing the results. So over the last month I've gone from down to 2004, and currently I'm sitting at 2054. And I've just been grinding tactics. I've just been playing games when I'm ready to play games, when I'm in the right mental space, when I can play a game without being distracted. And just tonight, I had my second best rated victory ever. And by comparison, a person I beat who was 2237, my best ever win, that came 2 full years ago. So excited to sort of get back to a good place and to get sort of back on the right track. So with all that said, let's get into the game. And it's a game with the white pieces, and of course we're gonna try to play the London. Part of my progress, I think, is that I'm sticking with a narrow opening repertoire and trying to develop expertise in that repertoire. Let's sort of give away the end here. So 3 inaccuracies, 1 mistakes, no blunders, 87% accuracy, which is pretty good in the super sharp kind of position that we get. So open with d4, knight f6, bishop f4, d6. Now, the repertoire that I'm using on Chessable, which is still on sale for a couple days, I think, it doesn't directly cover this move. But after knight f6 and d6, what struck me as the most logical way to continue development for black is to play a type of Pyrrhic or modern or King's Indian type of formation, in any event with a kingside fianchetto, so g6, bishop, g7 castles. And against that type of setup, having seen d6 on the board, I decided to go with knight c3, preparing e4, because this is what my London repertoire recommends against g6 base setups, and that's what we got on the board. Black would kind of feel silly playing d6 and then d6, d5 to stop my e4, so black continues on how I thought they would with g6. So I get e4 in, and white should already be very happy with developed pieces in the center. Bishop g7, queen d2, setting up a battery, hoping to trade off the dark squared bishop, throw Harry up the board, open up the position, and try to deliver checkmate. Black castles into it, I castle, and now we're ready to go. Knight bd7, following through on the plan. This dark squared bishop is the guardian of the dark squares in black's position. The dark squares could be sensitive after the g pawn moves, and so I want to trade off that dark squared bishop and try to exploit the dark squares with my queen. Black plays e5, following the principle of the best way to meet an attack on the flank is with a counterattack in the center. I try to keep the position closed because I want to attack on the king side. I don't want black counterattacking in the middle at all if I can help it. Knight c5, pressuring e4, but just f3. f3 also keeps knights and bishops out of g4. A knight on g4 would hit h6, would hit f2, so happy with f3. Black dropped the knight back, preparing f5, and so I played g4. And if you saw my Mayfield tournament game where I played against this sort of modern perk style position, you saw that I played that a bit too passively. And I've thought about it a lot, and I'm really convinced that the way to challenge these fianchetto setups is by just going for it. Castle long, throw the pawns up the board, and try to checkmate. It's so much easier to attack than it is to defend. It's just a very practical decision. It's a fun way to play, and even if you're not temperamentally suited for it, like me, if you're going to be a good chess player, you have to be able to play lots of different types of positions. When the board calls for a kingside attack, you have to be able to do it. And so I went for it in this game, g4, with the idea of if black ever plays f5, recapturing with the g-pawn, and after g takes, then we'll have the open g-file for the king, for the kingside attack. Black plays c6, chipping away at d5. But now black also has to worry about me taking on c6 and opening up on the then backwards d6 pawn. I stuck to the plan and played h4. The idea is h5 takes, bishop takes, queen h6 check, and hopefully deliver mate on h7. Black played f5, and the engine points out that the way you really open up the position is h5 here. I followed my plan though and played g takes, which is still very, very good for white. So after taking, I played knight. Well, first I captured the dark squared bishop. The idea is that if knight takes, that leaves d6 tender, and so I can take and win the pawn. And so black recaptured with the king. And now I played knight h3. The idea is to open up the g-file and maybe bring the knight into g5. Black took the pawn, which just has to be a blunder. In opposite side castling scenarios, what matters is open files and time. And here, black temporarily gains the pawn, but just completely exposes the king and is going to lose time with the queen. So I played queen g2 check. The engine gives some nonsense with b4. When the engine ever does this, just say shut up engine and go about your business. The position demands a kingside attack. Look at these open files. We have a nicely protected king. b4 is just dumb. I understand that it's the best engine move. Checkmate ends the game. We're going for the king here. Opponent plays king h8. Again, queen g2 is still completely winning, and I believe it's the right idea. It's so hard to defend. The engine says the very bold king f6 is best, but still completely hopeless for black. More natural is king h8 trying to hide behind the h7 pawn, but now I have knight g5. Another important aspect of queen g2 was that it defended the rook on h1. So with knight g5, we've opened up the rook, hitting the queen, hitting the h7 pawn. Black moves away with check. I just scoot over. And now black plays knight f6. The engine points out that knight takes h7 is already good to go because there's nothing black can do about queen g6, just hitting this. Whenever the engine says queen c1 check is the best move, you know you've done something right. But I didn't see that idea, and this is just a blitz game, I'll remind you. So knight g5, queen f4 check, king b1, knight f6. I thought, the plan that I saw, and real quick, let's just highlight the time disparity. My opponent is down to 23 seconds. I have 2 minutes and 16 seconds on my clock. That is because I'm playing very natural, principled moves, And it's so hard to defend. Even if you're objectively okay, which black absolutely is not here, but even if you're objectively okay, it takes a lot of time and precision to hang on. So here, I wanted to target this knight, and so I took on c6, opponent recaptured, and I played knight takes d6. We get to see the idea in the game. Black captured on e4, and I sacrificed on f6. That f6 knight was the defender of h7, and so I removed the defender. Now I'm hitting the queen, hitting the rook. So black captured my knight, but now h7 is completely undefended. Rook takes h7 check, king g8, and then knight e6 check. Black could interpose the queen and delay mate very briefly, but black took on h7 and I delivered checkmate on g7. So again, this was just absolute destruction of a 2200 plus player playing pretty natural moves. I start off with my typical London development. When I think black is going to fianchetto kingside, I occupy the center, and then just build up a very logical, natural kingside attack. Trading off the dark squared bishop, trying to keep the center closed so my kingside attack will work, and then just going for it on the kingside. Open up the kingside, trade off that dark square defender, and now open up the G file, and black does me a huge favor by also opening up the H file, and then it's just a matter of bringing the pieces to the king side and going for it, opening up all the pieces. And the engine says this is completely winning. I really like this idea because it brings all the pieces into the attack, with the exception of the light squared bishop. But you know, these pieces aren't doing anything. The c5 knight looks okay, but doesn't contribute to the defense and isn't really attacking. And then I really like this shot here, removing the defender and then just delivering checkmate. So really, really pleased with this game. As you can see, never in trouble, no blunders, and that's a good recipe to win games. And like I like to tell you guys, principled chess just wins. It doesn't matter what your level is. If you're a 2200 but you don't control the center, you know, then you can get beat by a scrub like me. So anyway, was really excited about the game, really happy to show you guys this game, but also my progress overall. I've been working on tactics, I've been sticking to the same openings, and starting to see some results. So hope you enjoyed the video, hope you're inspired, keep working at it, keep grinding those tactics, and I'll see you again soon.